Welcome back to Project 613. Today we learn one mitzvah, which is really the reverse of what we've been learning about previously. We've been learning about how much weight the Torah gives to a person's word. The Torah considers a person's word sacred, and therefore a person is obligated to keep their promises. As we learned, once a person takes upon themselves a verbal commitment, they have a religious obligation to come through on their promise. They have a mitzvah. They must fulfill and keep their word. Now the flip side of that is, what happens if a person doesn't keep their promise? If a person breaks their vow? So in addition to not fulfilling the positive mitzvah that we learned yesterday of keeping one's promise, what we learned today is that such an individual is in violation of a biblical prohibition. They're in violation of another mitzvah which says, do not break your promise. And as we learned, these type of promises are not only if a person clearly says, I promise to do such and such, or I promise not to do such and such, but the moment a person verbally expresses their intention, the Torah already considers that a vow. The Torah already considers that a promise, in halacha known as a neder, and the person is obligated to keep their word. And if they don't, they are violating the mitzvah that we are learning today of lo yahel dvaro, do not break your promise. Now here is something interesting. The word that the Torah uses for breaking one's promise is lo yahel dvaro. The word yahel comes from the root word of chulin, which means mundane. And this is very instructive because it again shows us how the Torah considers a person's word. The Torah considers a person's word as holy, as something which is sacred. And that's why, so long as a person keeps their word is holy. But if a person breaks their word, they have taken something which is holy and they have made it chol. They have made it mundane. And that's why the Torah uses such strong language of lo yahel dvaro for not breaking one's promise. Because by not coming through on a person's promise, they are taking something which was holy and are making it mundane. Now, what do these promises, these nedarim, look like in halacha? So they are usually described in general in a number of different ways. Either a neder, a vow, could be someone accepting upon themselves to do a certain activity, and they are then obligated to do so. Or the person could accept upon themselves to abstain from a certain activity, let's say to abstain from a certain food, or to abstain from a certain drink, or to even abstain from having pleasure from a certain individual. All of these things, if a person expresses their intention verbally, they are obligated to come through. And if they don't, they are violating this mitzvah. Similarly, if a person takes upon themselves to give a pledge to charity, that pledge becomes a neder. They are obligated to then come through, and if they don't, they are in violation of this mitzvah. What happens if a person makes a pledge and then isn't able to come through? Is there a way around that? Well, we will learn more about that tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.